I saw 2 movies during Memorial Day weekend this year, and today I'm going to talk about the good one.
What's with them?
The Sheep Detectives is an adaptation of the 2005 mystery novel Three Bags Full. It stars Hugh Jackman and Nicholas Braun, with voice performances from Bryan Cranston and Patrick Stewart, among others. It's directed by Kyle Balda, he was behind a handful of the Minions projects, and is written by Craig Mazin. Yes, that Craig Mazin. Somehow in a movie all about a murder mystery, that wound up being the biggest surprise. Because Mazin's career feels like something that's going to be studied in film school years from now. Here's a guy with writing credits going as far back as 1997, but by the mid-2010s he was mostly known for a couple of the Scary Movie entries, the ones without the Wayans brothers, superhero movie, and helping Todd Phillips with the Hangover sequels. But then he turns around and makes Chernobyl, one of the best miniseries HBO has ever produced. He then helped with the writing for both Dune 2 and The First Wicked, and is now 2 seasons into showrunning The Last of Us, after which he'll pivot to doing the same for a Baldur's Gate series. And sure, it hasn't all been perfect, and plenty of screenwriters will claim this kind of range as part of the job, but to go from god-awful 2000 spoofs to this is kind of insane. It turns out before this career renaissance, Mazin wrote an adaptation of this novel, and since he's a much bigger deal now, it was finally able to get made. And despite Mazin's recent success coming from some pretty serious material, the film is lighthearted, thoughtful, and genuinely delightful. The movie starts out with Jackman living as a shepherd near an idyllic British village. He's incredibly nurturing towards his sheep, and has a habit of reading them murder mystery novels every night before bed. And it turns out, as you've probably seen from the trailers, they've not only been listening to him, but start talking whenever humans aren't around, which comes in handy when Jackman winds up murdered, leaving the sheep as the only ones who can help out an idiotic policeman and a newbie reporter to try and figure out who the killer is. Part of the fun is that the film is a straight-up murder mystery, something we don't get much of anymore outside of the Knives Out films. It's a good mystery, there's just enough clues to try and figure things out ahead of time, and it doesn't cheat by withholding vital information. I knew something was up when a certain character I thought was a protagonist just stops appearing about midway through, but the ending still managed to catch me by surprise. But what helps it truly stand out is just how much mileage it gets out of the sheep. Sure, the voice cast is stacked and there's plenty of animal humor sprinkled throughout, but because the film centers around a murder, the sheep have to start asking questions about much bigger concepts like death, greed, jealousy, bigotry, and even the afterlife. Dreyfuss's Lily winds up learning most of the lessons of the film, but the standout winds up being Cranston as this loner ram Jackman rescues from a circus. Also listening to him try, very badly mind you, to explain the concept of God to the other sheep might just be one of my favorite scenes of the year so far. Now the film does bump up against the limitations of its main characters being animals a few times. The fact that they're never told to shoo from public places feels odd, and it's a bummer how little of Jackman we actually get on screen with him being the victim. But given how few talking animal films from the past few decades are actually worth seeing to the point where they've kind of been phased out of Hollywood, this one goes right up there with Babe as something worth checking out. And if nothing else, at least it's not as frustrating as another release I can think of. Thanks for watching!